r/world news top posts of the week. Mexico decriminalizes abortion, a dramatic step in world's second biggest Catholic country. US drone strike that Pentagon said killed Kabul suicide bomber actually killed aid worker and 7 children who ran to greet him when he arrived home. Video allegedly shows he filled car with water, not explosives. Italy to allow small-scale cannabis growing at home. Up to 4 plants to be allowed. Prince Andrew served with paperwork in sexual assault lawsuit. Israeli anti-vax leader dies of COVID-19. Record number of environmental activists murdered. Google underpaid thousands of international shadow workers, violating labor laws around the world, reports reveal. Fully vaccinated people made up just 1% of coronavirus deaths in England in first half of 2021, figures show. Mexico's Supreme Court on Thursday ruled that a state law defining life as beginning at conception and equating abortion with murder was unconstitutional, in another victory for abortion rights campaigners. WHO says COVID will mutate like the flu and is likely here to stay. Taliban willing to establish relations with all nations except Israel. Paid influencers must label posts as ads. German court rules. Indian news channel uses Armor 3 Gamma play footage to claim Pakistan bombed Afghanistan. UK faces permanent food shortages, and it will get worse. A new stratospheric polar vortex is forming over the North Pole as the seasonal cooling begins. It will keep strengthening into December, influencing the 2021/2022 winter season. The Taliban are lying, and France will not have any relationship with its newly formed government, Foreign Minister Janav Ledrian said late on Saturday, before heading for talks in Qatar on Sunday to discuss future evacuations from Afghanistan, Reuters. Japan says suspected Chinese submarine seen near territorial waters. Fossil fuel capitalism is cutting our lives short. Vertical bar. A new study shows that 17 billion life years could be saved if air pollution was reduced to WHO standards, but there's only one way to do it: ending the system that pollutes the world in the name of profit. France bans unvaccinated American travelers. Prosecution witness in Netanyahu trial killed in plane crash off Greek island. Trump considering attending mega rally in Brazil to endorse Bolsonaro's re-election. Report. Curaçao police under heavy scrutiny for illegally strip searching minors without parents' consent. Parents threatening legal action. Kansas to ban unvaccinated travelers from international flights in new pandemic measure. England will be first country to require new homes to include EV chargers. France grants citizenship to 12,000 covered frontline workers. Covered vaccines won't end pandemic and officials must now gradually adapt strategy to cope with inevitable spread of virus. World Health Organization official warns. Afghan women are sharing photos of dresses to protest the Taliban's black hijab mandate. Catastrophic supervolcano eruption much more likely than previously thought, scientists warn. Afghan journalists beaten by Taliban for covering women's protests. Finland. The Greens have become the first party in the government and parliament to call for legalization of marijuana. Ivermectin. Australian regulator bans drug as covered treatment after sharp rise in prescriptions. Pope Francis says antisemitism still lurking in Europe on visit to Hungary. Queen supports Black Lives Matter, says senior royal representative. Afghanistan's embassy in India refuses to pledge allegiance to Taliban's government in Kabul. Singapore. Talk to rich people nicely, you're a poor girl. 2 women fined for insulting auxiliary police officer. Taliban breaking promises including over women, says UN. Andrew Bolt's for Balmoral. Prince quits Windsor to join his mother on her Scottish holiday to avoid attempts by US lawyers to serve sexual assault papers. UN chief. World is at pivotal moment and moving in wrong direction. Abandoning 60% of global oil and gas might limit warming to 1.5 C. Czech Republic won't recognize Taliban under any circumstances, says foreign minister. Pfizer and BioNTech will soon seek clearance for vaccine use in children 5 and older. Facebook shields millions of VIP users from standard moderation protocols, per report. Norway's left-wing opposition wins election in a landslide. China to supply Afghanistan with $31 million worth of food. COVID vaccines. It's not right. Trudeau vows to criminalize blocking access to hospitals amid protests. Drought in Iraq and Syria could totally collapse food system for millions, aid groups warn. Google handed user data to Hong Kong authorities despite pledge after security law was enacted. 227 people were killed last year protecting forests, water and other natural resources under increasing stress from climate change, making 2020 the deadliest year on record for environmental defenders, according to a report. mRNA cancer therapy now in human trials, after shrinking mouse tumors. Good news for the ocean as tuna species bounce back from the brink of extinction. Braveheart statue unveiled in Scotland, branded back quote worst since Ronaldo. Uber drivers are employees, not contractors, says Dutch court. Anti-vax protesters block hospital entrances in Canada. Anti-logging protest becomes Canada's biggest ever act of civil disobedience. Vaccinate or resign, Zimbabwe tells government workers. Firm raises $15 million to bring back woolly mammoth from extinction. Russia, opposition politician Boris Vishnevsky says to lookalikes with same name as him running in St. Petersburg election in bid to confuse voters. Moderna developing a combo booster shot for COVID and flu. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy reverses hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Appalled by rich countries hogging vaccines. Who extends booster moratorium. No more promises, we just want vaccines for low-income countries, WHO director says. Call for police to get mandatory neurodiversity training after officer assaulted young autistic boy in school. Poisoning generations, US company taken to EU court over toxic forever chemicals in landmark case. Chinese parents fear children's English skills will suffer as schools cut back on language classes and tutors face crackdown. Getting fully vaccinated massively reduces your chance of dying from COVID-19, a new real-world study suggests. A Twitter user insulted a German politician. Police then raided his house. Tobacco giant behind the Marlboro man has sparked outrage in medical circles over a bid to invest in a company that develops inhaler technology, which could see it profit from the smoking-related lung diseases it helped create. Vessels return to Victoria after collecting 8 tons of trash from Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The world's most influential conservation congress passed resolutions Friday calling for 80% of the Amazon and 30% of Earth's surface, land and sea, to be designated protected areas to halt and reverse the loss of wildlife. Bitcoin crashes on first day as El Salvador's legal tender. South Korea has test-fired a ballistic missile, SLBM, from a submarine, becoming the first country without nuclear weapons to develop such a capability. Taliban bans all protests that don't have their approval. Liberals win most seats in Morocco's parliamentary election, routing Islamists. China restricts excessive packaging in foods and cosmetics. Taliban vandalized tomb of Ahmad Shah Massoud, Lion of Panjshir, on his 20th death anniversary. Japan officials escalate concerns about possible China attack on Taiwan. France extends free contraception benefits to women up to 25 years of age. Astronomers simulate the world's largest virtual universe, which you can even download for free. Taliban say girls, women may study in no-men classrooms. Mexico hit by powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake, sparking tsunami warning. UK ministers back met fossil fuel firms 9 times more often than clean energy companies. Taliban say women won't be allowed to play sport. Cuba begins vaccinating children as young as 2 for COVID-19. Putin to self-isolate due to coronavirus among inner circle. Pressured by China, Lithuania won't back down over Taiwan. Conservative Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg concedes defeat in general election as Norway swings leftward. Thousands in the Netherlands, set to demonstrate for urgent action to end housing shortage. News.nl. Nuns in Kerala, India stage walkout protesting priest's speech against Muslims. Cuba first to vaccinate toddlers against COVID-19. Ford stops making cars in India, the third US vehicle maker to exit. Women should give birth, they can't be ministers. Taliban. Pressed on Chinese aggression, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken calls Taiwan country again. The world's biggest plant to capture CO2 from the air just opened in Iceland. Revealed, Google illegally underpaid thousands of workers across dozens of countries. Denmark lifts all COVID restrictions, with 73% of the population fully vaccinated. Prince Andrew's team dispute claims accuser served legal papers. Hungary's opposition unites in bid To oust Viktor Orban from power. US removes advanced missile defense system from Saudi Arabia. Afghanistan cricket. Australia will cancel men's test if women's team banned. US forces were training the Guinean soldiers who took off to stage a coup. COVID-19. 12 to 15-year-olds to get final say over COVID jab if disagreement with parent occurs. Wait, you what, mate? You made it to the end? That is epic, mate. Do me a favor and utterly disintegrate that gargantuan subscribe button. If you don't subscribe, you'll regret it, because I produce very unique content. No other YouTuber does anything like it. I'm definitely creative and capable of coming up with original ideas, considering that the content of this video was clearly not stolen from anyone. Cheers.